That's great. Well, let's just jump in. So I was reading on here. There's the individual questions that we did to like prepare, and then there's a list of questions that we go through as a group. And this one says to start with a prayer and to share something spiritual in nature. So I think it'd be a good idea. I have something that I'd like to share if somebody wants to pray for us.
I can say the prayer.
Okay, that'd be great.
Our dear Father in heaven, we're grateful for this day and grateful that we have the opportunity to meet together here as a group. And we pray that the Spirit will be with us, that we'll be able to understand the things that we need to, that we'll be able to take away the things from the case that are important, and that we'll be able to learn and grow from this as a group. And these things we pray so humbly and do so in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thanks, Braxton. So the thing that I want to share was just something I was reading in one of my other entrepreneur classes. And it was just a little article, and it said that to like be successful, you have to find something like you have to find something that you're the best at, right? Something that is helpful and unique, but something that you can offer that no one else can offer, that no computer will ever be able to replace you, no company can replace you, things like that. And it said once you find like what that can be, then like develop that potential in yourself. So it says once you're a master of that one thing, then go ahead and become a master of something else as well. And then when you bring those two together, that's kind of where your brain can make connections, and you can be like the best, in the world at those two things together. And that's where a lot of entrepreneurs have kind of found their good ideas and things like that. But something that I was thinking about spiritually with that was, so for me personally, I was thinking about it and I was like, okay, I hope to become, a master of business someday. That's why I'm doing this. And I also want to be a master at dance because that's what I do. And I was thinking, well, there's actually a third one that I could bring into this mix that's, unique-ish. And I think that's the gospel. And if we bring, all our worlds together, all our business ideas and our farming ideas or whatever, and we also incorporate the gospel into that, I think that it can become, something even that much better. I think that, as Mormons, we're often, not always, but, unmatched in integrity and morality and honesty and all these things that actually can add a lot of value to the world and whatever industry you're in. So I just wanted to say, we shouldn't forget that there's that third thing that we've been trying to master, our whole lives or however long, that is the gospel, and to bring that into everything we do in business. So say that in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
All right.
So from here, I guess we just need to go on the, 3 to 6.
There's I think like 6 questions that it said to go over as a group in a different tab on there on iLearn. They're pretty similar, but it just kind of broke them up different, and there's some more of them. There were like 3 questions that we did to prepare, and then those 3 questions to go over as a group.
Okay.
So, first off, the question is, what grade would we give the founders of Rent the Runway for their work in starting RTR? And what specifically did we see most effective? Where did the founders stumble? What should they have done differently? Does the order in which they took specific actions matter? That's kind of the question. So how'd they do? What do we think?
I'm trying to quantify that into like a number, because I think that, or not a number, but a letter grade. I think they did well in their startup. They did some things really right, I think. And in other aspects, I think they made a few mistakes that were kind of hurt them in the long run. But I don't know. When I very first read the case and I read the start and the end, I was like, holy cow, this is a train wreck. But then after I actually read the case and I realized how much, reaction they got from their consumers, I was like, wow, they actually did a really good job. So I would say like B+, maybe A-. I thought they ended up doing better than I initially thought they were going to do.
I'm actually right there with you, Braxton, with that. I think about the same grade. I think that there were a couple of things that they could have done better, hire the right business managers and stuff like that. They talked about how, they're like, well, maybe we need a marketing person. They talked about that, but some of the advertising they did, the meetings that they met with all of their suppliers before they even, went ahead with anything. They did a lot of different, and I think it asked us about this later, but they did a lot of different things to try it out with customers. They held big things and invited people to come see if they would rent them. And I think they did a good job, seeing if they actually had a viable idea before they actually launched.
Alrighty. Before you guys start talking and saying what you want to, I guess, rate them, I did write down the A- as well. It was impressive, I guess, because when you're looking at their numbers, you're talking 1.75 million in venture capital. Like, you guys will know how hard it is to make 10 an hour or 15 an hour. Now, if you were to divide that on the year that they, just for that spring, so much revenue that they were working, taking into consideration the fact that they probably spent 50% of that just between variable costs and things like that. Even then, that was one of the most unexpected things I've ever read. The fact that a random guy will come out to a completely different, I guess, business scenario, that blew me away. So that was great. The fact that even though they were clueless, that gave a fresh view. I think that's what it said in one of the points, that they had like a new look towards the business, and because of that new look, they started doing things different. They actually were, contacting people, making sure that they didn't take a step. They did the opposite of the last case. They actually had a plan the entire time, rather than taking a step and then coming up with a plan for fixing the error. So I thought that was brilliant of them, and just the way that they work with people, and the way they. I feel like one of the things that they did wrong was dividing the business, the way that they divide a business. One person takes care of this, and then the other one takes care of the other. I think that was the one thing that hurt them the most. If they would have done what they said to do at the end, like do what you like, what you're good at, kind of like what you were saying, putting those potentials to work, that 1.75 million, it would have been a lot bigger.
Yeah, when reading through this, one of the things that says, what specifically did you see that as most effective? It talked about their competitors. Off the top of my head, I can't remember their competitors' names, but anyways, it seemed as though their competitors had kind of stubbed their toes with the designers, and I was really impressed that Jen and Jan went out and they talked to the designers and were like, hey, this. I know that we've got some competitors and you don't really like them, but we're here to help. We'll buy your dresses at this price, and we'll buy them from you. And they ended up saving a ton of money that way too, because their competitor was paying retail prices, and then Rent the Runway ended up paying just out of the box prices or whatever, I can't remember, but they ended up paying a lot less. I think it helped their bottom line, and they had a good relationship with the designer. So in the long run, I think it's going to help them to be able to get more inventory at a cheaper discount, but also be able to keep being able to buy new inventory that as it comes off the shelves. Because in the fashion world, it seems as though things are only new and good for about 2 or 3 weeks. So they're going to be able to stay with those and have a good relationship with the designers. And I thought that they were really smart that way.
Something with that, Braxton,
I believe, and in here somewhere, it said that as they first started meeting with people, they weren't like, people were a little, they didn't really accept them well and stuff. And after a couple of bad receptions, they said that they started going to these designers and just asking for advice. Like, if we were to do this, you know, what do you think we could do better? Would this appeal to you at all? If so, why or why not? And then it said that they really enjoyed that, because then at the end they left that with a lot of really good relationships, and not like they were just going in trying to sell themselves, but they were actually trying to get relationships and become better. And by the time it came time to ask, you know, hey, we're going to buy your stuff and sell it or rent it out, is that okay? You know, they already had all these great relationships that made it possible for them to do that. And I'm sure that's probably why they were able to get that super low price, even lower than wholesale price, because they had that such good relationships.
Yeah, I agree.
I thought it was super interesting that I was like a total flip flop, because when I first read this, all I could think was, this is just terrible. Like, I thought that the founders were just running off emotion, like, oh, we're trying to make these women's dreams come true and make them feel like a princess. Which that's all great, but all I could think in my head was, yeah, but do the numbers back this up? You know, you're out here just trying to put smiles on women's faces, but are you going to make money at it? And then as I read through the case in the entirety and read, like, you know, this is how much we were making and we were doing this and that, and there were so many people that wanted to do it, I was just really surprised. When I read it, I was just like, wow, I was so wrong from the beginning.
Well, and I like that they said, like, that all even came later. They said, well, and who knows, that's why they originally started doing it. They wanted to help people. And they said that that originally, like, in this, they said, okay, what's the value that we bring? And they said it was value. It was good price. They were trying to get it to people at a good price so they could afford it. And then later they realized, wow, you know, we're really making a difference. Like, girls really want to look beautiful as much as they can or whatever. And they saw, like, wow, we're fulfilling this need that was even more of a need than we'd hoped. So I really think that they approached that well. I think originally they thought, okay, we're going to make people smile. And then they're like, okay, it actually needs to be at a good value. And then they're like, wow, you know, we're actually making people smile. So
yeah,
which is great. I'm sure that made them really happy to see their company be able to do that.
It was funny how they didn't they were so focused on the dollar sign that they never realized that they were dealing with important events. So, and you read that and you're like, come on, you're like, you have the perfect business, because let's be real, most women are a glass case of emotions. So a day like that, a wedding, you know, something like that, prom, things like that, it's easy to indulge someone to spend more. Your price is already low. So if you can use that, create the scenario, you know, if they would have gone above and beyond that to begin with, those responses would have come sooner, and, you know, the relationship would have been, you know, already there. So I guess that's one of the other things I wish they would have done better.
Yeah. I do like, though, how they really did stick with, like, their main theme throughout the whole thing. Like, they said they got a website designer at the beginning, and he designed their website, and it just looked like some teen bopper, you know, some little, like, kid site. And I liked that they didn't, because it showed an example of it, and it was fine. And I feel like a lot of companies just go with fine, like, and then they're like, no, this isn't good enough. We weren't some little kid fashion show. Like, we're trying to make older women feel beautiful, you know? And so they redesigned the website, and then the exhibit showed the second website, and it looks a lot better, and it used, you know, fashion words and all this stuff. And I think that was really good on their part, not to settle, but to really, you know, embody that vision that they were going for at the beginning. That impressed me.
That was really good. I thought something that they did that was really good was the insurance charge. That was, you know, you already know that they're going to bring it back. And because of everything, you already know that either you're making that money, you're going to be spending the money. I thought that was brilliant.
That's what would scare me a lot about this business is sending things out and having no idea how they were going to come back, like, or if they were going to come back, or and so that scared me a lot when they said they were going to do this kind of a business. But yeah, it's good that they did that. And I'm sure there were other things, like if you don't send the dress back, you're paying for it, so it's pretty good incentive to send back your dress you spent $50 on to not pay $1,500 to pay for it. But
yeah. My mom used to work down in Mexico. There is a lot of rentals for both. So that is an actual like ongoing business. And I remember she'll tell me every time they'll make their money out of the damages rather than the rentals. So, it's one of those things. I'm pretty sure that insurance will come with some type of clause, like if it's beyond repair, you have to pay for it or something like that, or like something like that. But yeah, I would have thought the same thing. I mean, I thought the same thing. It was just one of those risky, that's the liability you're going to carry with the business. So
yeah, that's very true though. They, I didn't think about that maybe, and they didn't want that to happen, but if somebody had to pay for it, I'm sure they rented the same dress out before and they got some money off of that. And then suddenly somebody ruins it and they got to pay for it. And then you're getting all of that money back. And it was just like you had gotten a free dress and you still got all the money from the previous renters. But yeah, it's not as bad as of a business model than I thought it was originally.
I thought they were smart too. They thought about a lot of different scenarios, because one of my questions from the beginning was, okay, well, what if, you got this dress rented from Sunday to Monday, and then somebody else wants to rent that same dress Wednesday to Friday or Tuesday to Wednesday or whatever. Are you going to be able to get the dress back soon enough, dry cleaned, and then sent back out? And what happens if the person that has it rented before doesn't send it back soon enough? But they had talked about that and come up with a solution. I thought that was smart. Like they seem to have thought of a lot of different situations and come up with solutions for those.
Yeah. What was it that they did with that? Just if we don't have it, take anything you want, even if it costs more than what you paid for yours, you can wear that.
Yep.
Okay, let's move on, guys. The next question says, have the founders of RTR validated their business model? And what is the business model? Be specific. The reading highlights 4 components of a business model. What are the key elements of their business model? What does it mean to validate the business model? So basically, what's their business model and have they validated it?
At one point, I remember reading the whole, there was like 3 things. Something, watch it, love it, rent it, or something like that.
Yeah.
And I thought that was technically their business model. It was making sure that even if it wasn't what they liked, they walked away with something they would love to take home. There wasn't ever a forced scenario. Sometimes that bad situation will bring you to a way more expensive dress, but hey, I didn't have it, so great. So I thought that was their business model, those 3 things. I'm trying to find it exactly how it says it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember that. While you're looking for that, there was something that I loved that they did, because you can't know, no matter how much market research you do, you can't know if your business is a good one really until it opens. So that's why it's so hard, or until you actually try to sell something, because people say they'll buy it and stuff, but until you sell it, you don't know. And so I love that they brought in, however many girls and said, okay, try these dresses on. Okay, you like it? Are you going to rent it? And they actually let them rent them and take them. Like, they had to see, okay, will they actually take them? And then I love that they took it one step further as well. Later, they did another test, brought in a whole bunch of different ladies and said, okay, without even trying these on, like, just look at them and will you rent them? And then they got to see if people would rent them. And they said that it was even higher than they expected, enough to be a successful business model, which I think is good, because if they would have stopped with their first test, because when you're shopping online, you can't try them on. So they had to do that second test. Okay, what if they came in, they didn't even try them on? Would they still rent them? So I thought that was really awesome that they even took it that one step further.
I found where it's at, and I agree with you. It's page 12, when it says love, wear, return. That's what they were.
Okay, yep, I see where you're talking. Yeah, I think that they, as far as their business model and the way they had it all set up, I'm agreeing with you guys both 100%. And I think one of the things that I liked that they did, too, was that they had like style specialists, that women that would help these women find the right size, and they didn't keep track of how long the phone calls were. They were more interested in the customer rather than somebody talking too long on the phone with a customer. But I think that they really did have that desire to help these women, and they wanted them to get the right product in the right time and for them to have a good experience. And I feel like this business model, the way they handled it, the way they handled their customer acquisition and their customers after, I think they've done a really good job.
On the part where, it's asking us in regards of the elements and, the expansion portion of it. It was really hard for me to, I guess, put together. More than one element, because I feel like everything had to do with two tops three things, like customer service, good researching, but beyond that, I guess pricing. But I don't know what else you guys come up with.
I think that something that they did with those is, at one point they said that they had the opportunity to either outsource their warehousing and have somebody else handle the shipping and of the dresses and everything like that. But they decided to keep it all in-house. They decided to get their own warehouse and do it all themselves, for the sole fact of like keeping good quality, because if you let somebody else do it, you have no control over how they do it. But if you're the one packaging it, you're the one doing it, that it's being done correctly. And so just a good quality product. They said every time they send a package, they want it to be that, like you're opening a new dress type feel, not that you're opening a dress somebody wore 3 times. But I think just that good quality kind of goes with that customer service and things like that. Just it's a good product, and it fulfills their vision there.
Yeah.
So looking at this, the next question and asks about how many times a dress needs to be rented on the break even. It said that they were renting, well, I think it says there in the opening sentences there that they rent them for anywhere from 10 to 15% of a dress's retail purchase. So, I mean, if it's 10% of an $800 dress, you'd have to rent it eight times to break even. But right. I guess they were buying them at less than retail.
Yeah, it said, well, it did say, did you look at Exhibit 4?
Oh, I did, but I skipped right over that part.
Yeah, page 9,
in
9, it talks about it.
Yeah, in the question, I think it said to use the numbers from Exhibit 4.
Okay. Okay.
I think, well, I think your way actually was very accurate, and that would be the easiest way to do it, to get the whole picture. And Exhibit 4 just talks about like a medium price dress.
Gotcha.
But what was cool in that example was that there was the retail price, and then the wholesale price, and then the price that they got was even less than all of those, which was pretty cool that they were able to swing that. But so I think it said it was like $226.
Yep.
For that. Also talked about what their variable cost is and everything. And I did that math, and I don't know if I did it right, but I just kind of followed with the video. Their break-even number for that was like 3.8 times somebody would have to rent the dress to make it worth it. Unless I did that wrong, I don't know.
No, you're right.
You're right on.
Okay.
Yep. You're right.
And then the other part of that question, I wasn't exactly sure how to get, but I found some numbers. So let's see. Oh, I guess it doesn't ask it in this question, but in the personal question, it asked, does that fit? Are they gonna be profitable? Does that fit the early what was happening right when they opened? And the numbers I found for that were that they had 1,000 dresses. Like in the second month or something, they upped their inventory to 1,000 dresses, and in that month they rented 2,000 dresses. And so that came out to, they were averaging renting out each dress 24 times a year if they stuck with that, those same numbers, which easily pays off those dresses.
Yeah, it does.
Pretty good.
Yeah, it was on that same page that I was talking about, page 9, the first 2 paragraphs where it talks about those numbers. And it's pretty much saying, like, in December, the waiting list reached 50,000. By mid-January, as dress inventory grew 1,000 units, the holiday demand subsidized, and the team had reduced the list 5,000 names by 1 week wait. So, like, you're talking that if every week the 50,000, you take off 5,000, you still have 45,000, and you're getting a volume of 2,000 orders, from 1,000 to 2,000 orders. That means that, from the 5,000, you're keeping at least 40% of that, and 60% is leaving. So with a 40% retention, as far as like, hey, we want this, and then nobody cancels, that is a really good turnout ratio. That you're talking that more than likely 1 out of 2 persons are going to walk away with something. It's way better than many businesses.
It's really good.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
and I wonder, something that I think helped them with that was they said that a lot of their customers came from like word of mouth, like somebody told somebody else about it. And they said they really like that because it's that much easier to trust a website if you know that your friend used it and they had a good opportunity with it. And they said that they have a Facebook page that their customers love posting on and saying, look at my amazing dress. When they were worried that their customers were going to try to hide that they were renting dresses because it's, a status symbol. I'm only renting. I can't afford to buy it. They thought that was going to be an issue, but apparently their customers really just love showing off these new dresses that they got every week or whatever.
Yep. The whole concept of leasing a car.
Yeah. I kind of thought the same thing that they did, though. I was a little nervous from the beginning when I started reading. I was like, man, I just don't know. I don't know. I think about my wife, and I don't feel like she would want to rent a dress, but it must be kind of a big thing. Like women must like it. I don't know. I can't imagine renting a dress, but hey, it works.
I jumped on their website just to see if they were like still up and running and stuff, and their website looks great. They're still going. I was looking at that, and there's like, you can be a premium user or a member or just different things. And even that, it was expensive. I was like, wow, like this is expensive. But I guess if you're going to all these black tie events every month, like I'm sure it pays off. But
but they're actually pretty cheap. Like they'll still rent you a $30 dress for, for $30, but they do have like different subscriptions now. You get a new dress every month or something if you pay a certain amount. Like it's pretty cool. They're still, looks like they're still doing good.
Yeah.
It's cool to see.
Should we go to the next question?
Sure. Yeah. The next one I think is the last one. It just says, do we think that they should scale quickly? So yeah, this is something we could talk about for a minute. They talked about scaling quickly and like making a lot of money now, like doing some more fundraising to move on and add all these new products, or if they should continue with the plan that they had and raise more money next year when they planned on doing that. So I don't know.
My only concern for them was sometimes businesses try to go too many directions at one time, like early on. And they talked about doing like accessories and other types of clothing and like doing all these other things. And I was like, man, I do think that they need to scale quickly, but I just, my advice to them, or if I were in their shoes, I would just want to make sure that I've got, all my ducks in a row, that I don't start trying to do all these accessory things. They're ready. They definitely have some areas where they need to hire some people to help them accommodate all that, because when they take all this on, they're going to need, they're going to have some issues with their website, because it sounds like their website couldn't handle that yet. Now, I do think eventually they could get there for sure, and I think that they need to start scaling. But as they scale, just be sure that they don't do it too quickly and that they don't go in too many directions. They kind of need to stay focused with what they're doing, and then as they grow, then maybe pick up some of these other things.
Yeah, I agree. I'm okay with them even, raising some more money right now to get more dresses if they stick with that. Because I'm excited for them that they have all this interest in doing accessories. I think that for sure the women will add an extra $10 onto their cart to get matching earrings and a necklace with their dress. Like I'm certain that that would work out great, but it does concern me as well that they're not really ready to handle that. Maybe that's their customers aren't bored with them yet. Maybe that's something they need to do in a year when people are like, okay, this is cool, but I'm starting to forget about it, and then they can release this new thing. And I don't know, but I think that it wouldn't be, like, depending on what they needed, I don't think it would be a bad thing to raise more money to get more dresses if they needed that. But, probably not to expand into other products quite yet. But I think they should in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, at one point I remember it was talking about how the demand for that was high. And, the more they asked, more people will be like, oh, yeah. Just about every single person will be like, all pros for it. But definitely just like how Netflix took, because they followed the Netflix model. Netflix took a couple of years before they started adding games to the things that they could rent. So if they're truly following the Netflix model, they should actually take a couple of years before they start implementing that for sure.
Yeah, that's true, because it's not like that was a radically different thing than releasing DVDs. Games is, it was something I'm sure that they thought of a long time ago, but, for some reason, maybe it was this reason, they decided not to. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know if you guys can hear my daughter screaming.
Oh, you're good.
So did you guys get the email from our teacher saying that we need to email him with our group names?
Oh,
he mentioned,
yes.
Yeah, he mentioned that if we like our group and we want to stay in it, that he will, keep our groups together. We just have to email him the names of everyone in our group tomorrow as he's putting the group things together. And it sounds like groups are going to be like 4 to 6 people. So I assume that he'll add a couple to us as well for next week. So.
Yeah, I saw that. That sounds good to me.
I wish he would just leave it as is, but I guess you can't have a good thing too long. So
It has been good. It's been good.
Yeah, man. You guys are sharp. So.
So does somebody want to do that? I can do it. I don't really care who does it. Needs to be.
Reply to him.
I may have jumped the gun here, but I just saw the email and I emailed him right back with our
Oh,
names.
perfect.
I didn't
Perfect. No, you're good.
because I was just like, oh yeah, we've already been meeting, so I just threw all our names on there and emailed him right back.
Oh, good.
So sorry if
He was
I
probably like, what the heck?
because I was on here doing homework and all of a sudden I saw it pop up and it beeps at me, so I was like, oh, I'll just email him back, and I just kept going.
No, that's great. That's great. I think that's perfect.
Thank you. Well, the time thing is about to run out.
Yeah, I don't know if we have much more to talk about, so maybe we'll just
I think you're good.
call it good. But
No,
okay.
yeah, I feel like we covered just about everything.
Yeah. Okay, we'll see you guys next week. I'll this video, I have to like upload it to YouTube, and it takes a little bit at my house. That's why I usually send you guys the link the next day, but I'll get it to you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all cool.
Cool. See ya.
Thank you so much.